Today's topic, how OCD as an anxiety disorder is like playing chess with the mind both as opponent and defender. And we will begin this topic with OCD, Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, as an anxiety disorder. OCD is a type of anxiety disorder when the main element is an overwhelming sense of anxiety. Intrusive thoughts as obsessions create anxiety, and compulsions are the repetitive actions or mental strategies which a person uses to relieve that anxiety. These obsessive thoughts can be thoughts experienced by people, often revolving around certain themes or triggers. Some of the most frequent OCD triggers or obsessive thoughts are of 7 types. 1. Contamination fears, that is worrying excessively about being contaminated and connected with germs or getting germs by touching objects. Fear of harming others. Intrusive thoughts about accidentally or deliberately causing harm to your loved ones. Symmetry and order, a thought or compulsion to have things arranged in a specific order and thinking if it's not done, then unfortunately something unfortunate or bad is going to happen. Doubts and uncertainty, repeated fears of forgetting and making mistakes like switching off the stoves or locking the house before you leave and you're unsure about it. Religious or moral scrupulosity, that is going against or fear of intrusive thought of going against certain religious or moral ethics or values. For example, a gay person thinking of not having sex and dying a virgin because otherwise will be sent to hell. Fear of losing control, worrying about losing control, of engaging in violent or inappropriate behavior socially. And relationship related doubts, constantly questioning the strength of relationship, obsessing with a person and trying to validate she loves me or she loves me not. These obsessive thoughts often lead to compulsions or compulsive behavior or mental rituals designed to reduce the anxiety, even though the relief is usually temporary. So if you act on that thought by doing some activity, then sometime the anxiety goes away, depending on the thoughts like of cleaning or doing a certain things or putting the certain things in certain order. Now, getting into the discussion of the main topic of chess game analogy, the obsessive thoughts in OCD are like the unexpected anxiety-proving moves from an opponent. And compulsions are the person's attempt to make a counter move, hoping to block or neutralize the anxiety caused by these thoughts. Imagine playing chess against your own mind when the stakes feel incredibly high and every intrusive thought requires a response. Technical term that can be described both by players in the context of OCD would be antagonistic cognitive process. This phrase captures the idea in a two-way process. Obsessions and compulsions are the constant oppositions, much like two players in a chess game, each trying to dominate each other. Another fitting term could be cognitive dissonance players, reflecting the mental conflict of the play. So how we can explore that OCD person gets into playing both sides of the chess game, leading to following some validations one after the other. When a person with OCD constantly worries about whether their thoughts are valid or they are not, they engage in behaviors to neutralize these thoughts, which strengthen the obsessions over time. For example, a patient who have obsessive thought of harming their loved ones, they will constantly seek reassurance from their therapist or from others in whom they can confide in that whether they are a criminal or not, and they will harm their loved ones or not. Another example, which I've seen with quite many of my patients, if someone is obsessed with the idea that they left the stove on, instead of trusting their memory, they might check the stove multiple times. So each check feels like a counter move to stop the anxiety. But in reality, it is feeding into the opponent's strategy, reinforcing the thought that the stove might actually be on. One of my patients loves his dog to death and will do anything for the dog. The dog was diagnosed with some food allergies, and my patient had to spend and did spend happily thousands of dollars for treatment and for ordering specific food. But on the other hand, patient has an obsessive thought of harming the dog. So will do the compulsive behavior of washing his food bowl so many times that it was noticed when he came to me that the skin of his hand and fingers was coming out because of using of the dishwashing soap many times in a day. So this constant battle of washing the bowl has led to reinforcing that something poisonous or germs are left on the bowl, so I have to wash it again and again, validating he does not want to harm the dog. How the chess game can lead to more anxiety. Out here, if we look at that how compulsions actually reinforce the OCD cycle. While the person is performing or performs a compulsion to feel relief, the relief is only temporary and the anxiety soon returns. The more the person is to performing or it's trying to control the checkmate, their thoughts, the more complex the mental chess game becomes. In the long term, compulsions don't relieve anxiety, they are reinforcing the obsession and making the anxiety worse. The mind constantly is needing to check, to review, or redo actions because more entrenched they are in the cycle of OCD. This cycle is mentally exhausting because no move seems to bring the game to the end. Because technically it is a zero-sum game. The advantage of doing the obsessive thought by making the moves, being opponent, and the move is to cope with anxiety, is the disadvantage, compulsive reaction, the defender, because it's reinforcing back again to the obsessive thought to carry on the cycle. So in the end, this game never ends. It's a zero-sum game because there's a balance between advantage and disadvantage in this cycle. The mind never truly feels satisfied with any one solution, and the person is trapped as if they are playing an endless game with no resolution. And I hope you liked my this video. Please don't forget to ring the bell, and to end I will use a Cajun expression, laissez bonus temps roller, meaning thereby let the good times start or roll.